again, and welcome to the Credit Bank Small Business Spotlight, where we spotlight inspiring business owners. We learn their stories and they share what drives their success. This episode is brought to you by Credit Bank, where you can get up to $500,000 in working capital with monthly payments in less time than it takes you to drive to the bank. How about that? I'm your host, Irv Cruz, and today I have a very, very special guest. I am joined by Mr. Travis Fox. He is the executive chairman of Build Your Fortress. Travis, can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Irv, I got to be honest with you. I think this show is going to be far more entertaining than anybody realized. I'm like, I just listened to that intro, and I've done quite a few of these, but man, you are definitely built for this, brother. Oh my God, people listening do not understand the talent, and I don't mean that because I'm on your show. It is a compliment to you. I'm like, wow, did you guys really hear that intro? That was fantastic. Even a quick plug for the sponsor, nailed it on the spot. I'm like, guys, you need to be listening to this show. This is a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the opportunity, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Travis and I are probably going to hang out at some point after this because this guy is really amazing. He's got great energy. Let's get started, buddy. We want to know your story. So I always like to start off, Travis, by, the beginning. So why did you start this business in particular?
Yeah, great question. And fair play. I actually, Build Your Fortress is actually a start from a different brand. I got into this business about 4 years for round.
Right.
Really, at the impetus of just being a man on fire. I'll be polite until we get deeper into the conversation, but I got a man on fire for a couple of reasons. One, I started to really look around, and it really was the impetus because my elder son is an ex-special force operator. My entire family's military on my father's side, all the way to a single star. And, I grew up around the world because my mother was an actress and my father was a fighter pilot. Didn't last very long, but I was traveling all around the world as a kid. So I see the world from a different point of view. I'm not saying better than anybody, but I got to see it different than a typical raised in America, never leave America until you're an adult. I grew up outside and then came back. So I saw what we have here in this country. I'm not saying other countries don't have it, but let's be honest. This country is incredibly advanced compared to a lot of places around the world. Right. Yes, and you don't know that until you travel. And I highly recommend, and something I'm an advocate for, the reason why I think that, everybody should do military service is because it's going to give you a reason to understand what you're defending, but more importantly, hey, how good you really have it. And so when you come back to it, it's a different appreciation of gratitude. And that's how I learned. And I've continued to learn that my entire career. So about 4 years ago, and my elder son and I were talking, and it's a little bit further in the back, but I really got man on fire. He was struggling affording a home, which made no sense to me. So when I say this to you, and I don't say this in a braggadocious father way, although every father has pride in their son, but this son is Captain America. I mean, he's got a master's degree from USC in poli-sci. He's got a law degree from Georgetown. He's a special force operator. He's an officer. He's done 4 tours, yada, yada, yada. I mean, it's like Captain America, like Marvel Comics should be calling this kid.
Right.
And he gets back after touring, and obviously a couple of his brothers bought the farm and says, Dad, I don't really know why we're over here in Afghanistan. And I said, well, son, that's above my pay grade, but I can give you a few theories, but who gives a crap what I think? The fact is, why do you think you're there? If you're not there and your heart and soul's not in it, then you need to pack it up, because that's the number one thing on a battlefield is you cannot have doubt. You've got to be able to, this is the direction we're going. Brothers and sisters are going this way.
Absolutely.
And I started looking around and I started getting, the more and more I dove into this, or I got to be honest, I got really pissed. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. We're out there touting that we're the greatest country in the world, and we are, but we're operating in the Flintstones when it comes to construction, when everyone else in the country and the world is operating the Jetsons. And I'll cite places like Dubai as an example, who are light years ahead of where we are. And it's not because we don't have the technology. It's because we're stuck in old mindsets. So I took the 2 things that I'm pretty good at. One is mind. I'm a mindscape architect, and that's where my actual psychological background is. And I've spent years, and I don't care what business you're in, even this business, and Irv, you and I have already talked about this offline. Whatever business you're in, those of you listening to the show, you're not in that business. So get out of that mindset. You are in the people business, period.
100%.
No matter what business you're in the people business. So for me, it was combining the things that I knew and also things that I didn't know, but I knew needed to be done. And, the age old thing of, you could stand on the sidelines and be an armchair quarterback, or you get in the damn game. And I got in the game. Now, I didn't know all the plays when I got in the game, but you know what? No one ever does. You figure that out on the fly. That's as Sir Richard Branson always likes to say, result to yes, and figure it out along the way. And I got really pissed when I realized that our men and women they don't have homes. And we have people that don't have homes here. I'm like, we have an 8 million home deficit in single family residents in the United States of America. So you're telling me that right now, just based on the current population, we have 8 million people that even when they walked in with $1 million, there's no homes available. That doesn't make a dang bit of sense to me. And I got, whoa, time out. Wait a minute. Back up a step. And I started looking at the industry, and what I realized was there are so many advanced products out there that let us build better, faster, greener, stronger. And I got excited about that. I'm like, well, okay, wait a minute. So what does it really need? It needs a messenger. Now, I'm not saying I'm a great messenger. Don't be fooled, kids. But I know how to put a message or two together. But more importantly, it's putting the right team together. Because again, one of my skill sets as a corporate architect is putting the right team in place. And we have that. We're represented by all 4 branches of military on our board and advisory board, from colonel all the way down to a sergeant. And we're represented with civilians. We're represented by men and women. We're represented by all different nationalities, because the bottom line, as long as you're pink and you keep the oath to the flag of the United States of America, I'm in. Beyond that, none of that other stuff is interesting to me. And I got really interested in the SIP industry, and I started to realize there were a couple of challenges with the SIP industry. So again, we're back to people. And I said, well, what's the challenge? The first challenge is speed to output. So I really spent the last 2 years, and last year in particular, redesigning our line. It's our IP, made in America, built by Americans, for Americans. It's exclusively Build Your Fortress's IP. Out of this brain of mine that came up with this idea. And I said, wait a minute, why can't we do a better line? And we found it, and we discovered it, and we built it, and we're in the process of building a new one as we speak. And it gives us a 4 times output. Well, what does that mean? Well, let me put it in really simple language for those of you listening. Well, an average line do about 50, 60 panels every 8 hours. It's maybe a house on a 1,200 square, 322, give or take, right?
Right.
This line does 4 times output. That's 200 panels every 8 hours. Okay. Now we're talking, well, that's closer to 4 to 5 houses every 8 hours. Now, when I say 4 to 5 houses, people, well, that doesn't sound like a lot. Add that up with 30 days, kid. That's 150 houses a month times 12. Do that math real quick, and you'll see we're doing 1,000 homes per line per facility. Okay, now we're talking. Now we can start to move. Now we start scaling it out. 2, what's the other problem? What's the number one problem with manufacturing, Irv? What would you say?
Supplies.
Materials are definitely an issue, right? Which we'll get into that in a second. Here's the other thing. It doesn't move. It's in the same damn location for the entire time that you own that facility. When you go to move it, it's expensive. When you go to build a new one, it's even more expensive. And the amount of time that it takes and the red tape is nonsense. It's nonsense, right? Because it doesn't take that long. It's a box, right? So I started looking at the mobility of it. We cracked that code. We cracked it, and what that's actually Operation Knights of the Fortress. And the Knights are literally what it sounds like. We have full mobility. What if we showed up on site? What if we built it right there on site? You don't need the facility. The facility comes to you, right? If you can't move the mountain, go around it. So I did. Our IP, we built it. We're in about 120 days away from the Knights of the Fortress actually having it rolled in its first prototype. And then the third one, to your point, materials. Can we all agree that post the absolute apocalyptic what the hell is going on in our country with all of these disasters happening left and right, Los Angeles being the most recent, Kentucky now as of the time of this recording, another one, North Carolina. Hell, we haven't even repaired from Katrina down in New Orleans. Okay, so maybe FEMA's not as good as everybody thinks it is. No disrespect to our friends and fellow FEMA, but they don't do anything. Get your ass down there and solve the problem. So our entire company caters to working with veterans of service, first responders, and of course, civilians, of course. And our ideology is stop saying the word affordable. Affordable is the worst thing you could say to someone in a housing. You might as't well walk up to them and say, you know what? That's an ugly dog. That's the worst thing you could say. Affordable means cheap in the prior building industry. And everybody knows it. So cut the crap. Can we stop the psycholinguistics, people? By the way, I know a little bit about psycholinguistics, so let's not play this game. How about we call it this? How about we call it attainable and workforce? Because the workforce needs places to live too, or you don't have a labor force. But also attainable means whatever level of attainment you choose to attain. Now, that means it can be from a $100,000 house to a $10 million. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Multi-stack, RALs, doesn't matter. But the fact is you can attain it. And it should be attainable and not enslave you. That's just my humble opinion. Yes, I know all of you out there, naysayers out there going, Travis, you're living in a utopia. Yeah, but it's better living than hell. Because we've been there. We've already been there. We bought the season pass. We got full-time lifetime membership in hell. I'm good. But let's do something about it. And so part of that was, what if we change those things and rebuild them? And now we make it so that everybody can own it. And so we're on a 2-year collision course with taking this company public. That is the dream, so that everybody can own a piece of it. It is not Travis Fox's. Thank you. Okay. It's scalable. People can own it and own different parts of it. And that's the design, because one of the things that really got me on fire was if our men and women who stand on the front line in the middle of whatever weather we ask them to do it, in whatever part of the world we ask, so that this country can continue to be free and people like you and I can have the opportunity to do this thing that we're doing right now, then damn it, they deserve a home. And it's not just an affordable home. It's one that's going to be a fortress, because I believe every person, man or woman, should be the king and queen of their own life. Well, every king and queen has a castle or a fortress, and these things are built as fortresses. They survive storms. That's what houses are supposed to do. And they better for efficiency with our grid that's 75, now 80 years old, that needs to be rebuilt. And more importantly, it should be something that's an asset. It shouldn't be something that enslaves you. Something that you need that's going to grow with you over time. And that's where we arrive here. So that's my story up to this point.
Oh, awesome. And you're sticking to it.
So far, yeah.
All right. So Travis, when you were starting off your business, share with our listeners, what's involved in getting this business off the ground, because it could be, quite capital intensive. So how did you manage financing when you first started?
Yeah, great question. And fair play. And to this day, it's capital. Look, if you're anybody out there who considers themselves a CEO in any fashion or format, solopreneur, entrepreneur, major corporation, S Corp, I don't care. You're always raising money. You always are, right? Because you're either expanding, growing, or you're holding off the bills. One or the other. Doesn't matter, right? Okay, so you're always in that space. However, when we started this business, we did two things. One, we had some external capital where I said, hey guys, I went to the board and said, we're going to fraction off and go this direction with this division, because this division solves a problem over here. Meaning that if people have houses and we have manufacturing, people have jobs, then people are going to do these things over here with the other part. They said yes. So we seed capped it ourselves. And then I went and found, and there's not many, I found a couple of people that were in this industry that had been around for a couple of years and said, well, how about I partner with you? What I'm really good at is sales and marketing, corporate and architecture. What you're good at is the line, but you're not good at sales and marketing. Great. The old Reese's peanut butter cup, two great tastes that taste great together. So I put peanut butter and chocolate and said, look, I'll put this much capital in sales and marketing. Dating myself.
Gotta love them.
Gotta love them, right? And they come in pairs, so you get two. That's great. And now they have the super stack. The idea was, and still is, let's put the sales and marketing together. Let's put the team of marketing together. Let's get the sales in. And then from there, we would build profits together. And we did that. And we said, great. Until I realized those problems that I aforementioned was, these facilities, when we put them up, can range anywhere from $5 to $7 million just to get them up. Right? And if you buy existing buildings, then you have whatever challenges you may have with the existing building. So for us, it became about, well, wait a minute. Let's use LA as an example. I can own 10 manufacturing facilities, but what the hell does that have to do with LA? Nothing. If I can't get the supplies there, who cares? Or to your point, if I can't get my materials in to create my product, then who cares? But what if I could do both of those on site? Why is that important? Because the men and women who are military know that they've got to respond. We know action, right? And I say we, meaning as the families, we as the military. I've never had the honor of serving, so I don't want to misrepresent myself. I was the middle gap, right? But as a child, I moved every 2 years. I knew that I was going to happen, whether obviously my mom on one side, but my father was a fighter pilot on the other. And I watched what my son went through and I went, wait a minute, this is just a singular thing. These families are affected where these men and women who are serving our country are gone for sometimes a year at a time. Excuse me. No problem. That's insane, but it's necessary in today's world at times. I understand that. There's many things I'm involved with, but I can't control world politics. It's way above my pay grade. Right. So I started looking at, well, how do we solve that? So when we solved that problem, we said, look, this is a story. So we showed sales and marketing. So a lot of you, when you first start, and we all do this, I call this founderitis, because I don't know why, but for some strange reason, people keep calling me every quarter and say, will you come do consulting with us? I'm like, sure. I'm like, well, if you think I'm valuable enough, great. And I don't mean that disparaging. I'm like, sure. But again, I'm in the people business, so it doesn't matter what business I approach. I can look at it from the same ideology, whether it's the culture, the sales, the marketing, how are we talking to people? What's the after effect, customer service, all of the above, leadership. And so I said, well, wait a minute. Why don't we put these two together? I'll teach you sales and marketing from what our team does. You teach me the SIP line so I can figure out where the stop gaps are, which we did, and we'll be better for it. And we did. And that's how we did our capital intensity. So we ended up doing profit sharing so that my part of the profit took care of the sales and marketing, which fed the system, and they would do the SIPs. And meanwhile, we taught each other. And then realizing we knew it was going to be a period of time where we eventually were going to separate ways, not from anger or things. Just like, no, I understand you want to stay in that. That's where you want to stay. I have this other vision I have in my head where I want to build your fortress sales and marketing office in all the lower 48 states. Why? And I want vets to own them, and I want first responders to own them, and I want the company to be public, but I want it to be about people versus profit. We're going to make profit because all of you I know go, we're going public, you're going to go profit. Yes, I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can still run a consciously competent business. Be about people. There's tons of work out there. Trust me. We could be building for the next 20 years and we still will be lucky if we make a dent and still make a boatload of profit. But stop screwing our people. It doesn't cost $650,000 to build a 1,200 square foot house. Sure as hell doesn't. And it sure did. That's just profit margin. Right. And it doesn't take 18 months either. Cut the crap. If you don't believe me, go to our website, buildyourfortress.com, and watch us build a house in 4 hours right in front of you. And it's with Habitat for Humanity. So don't take Travis Fox's word for it. It's with them. And they were really proud, and they should be. They were building and framing houses in 21 days. That was insane. I was like, that's great. I said, what if we could do it in a day? And they said, bah humbug. I said, I totally get it. I said, let's go. They after 7 months took the shot. We did it. You can watch us do it on the website. And we did it slow. We did it in 4.5 hours. Normally it's done in 2. And then you'll see the head of construction go, damn, we should have built 5. I'm like, damn, let's build 400. Let's do it differently. So that's how we did it. And I continue to go from there. And then went, to pre-seed to seed. And again, a lot of times it is just, and for all of you out there, and Irv, this is the big aha duh at the exact same time. A lot of times it is, are you willing to go through the cauldron of yourself for this dream? Because 100 people are going to tell you no.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
But it only takes one. It takes one to start the fire. It takes two to ignite it and putting more gas on that fire, puns intended. And then 3, most importantly, getting the team around you. The team around you is key. Often founders, we take it all on our shoulders. It's my responsibility. I've got to do this, and I'm going to do this 18-hour days, and I'm going to max my credit cards out. And I've done it too. Here's what happens. Your passion for it wanes. And the moment it does that, you're looking for the door. And the moment you look for the door, the initial intention for which you started this thing will morph into an exit. Not that exits are bad, but how you exit is a key. And what you're doing with that exit. Like going public has a very specific intention. Everybody gets to own a piece of the fortress, as they should.
So Travis, I'm loving this story so far, but I'd like you to share with our audience,
sure,
what were some of your major hurdles that you faced when you were just getting this business off the ground, and how did you overcome those hurdles?
Yeah, fair play. Two quick responses. One, knowledge. When everyone's like, oh, it's just manufacturing. Manufacturing is not a simple business. I don't care what part of manufacturing you're in. And so it's really knowledge base. And 2 was really fighting the mindset of the old way. Well, my granddaddy did it this way. My daddy did it this way. I'm like, well, they used to raise barns in the 1700s, but it doesn't mean that's the way to do it. And I always cite this thing. I'm like, well, you wouldn't be talking on this little device there, Scotty and Mr. Captain Kirk either. But in, early 70s, Star Trek said we could do it. And here we are. So it's possible that an industry that hasn't been disrupted in well over 100 years is due for a disruption. And those are the 2 things I spent. And to this day, number 2 is the one I still battle the most.
Oh, okay. And so you've been doing it now. The company has been in existence, did you say 4 years? Am I correct?
Yeah, we're going on our 5th year as we speak.
Okay. So share with us, what has been your proudest moment or your greatest achievement thus far?
Great question. I spent almost 3 years looking for an organization to partner with that specifically catered towards veterans and first responders. And here's the ideology. The simple mindset is we expect them, military and first responders, to be there for us, period. No questions asked. But how often are we there for them? So I went in with that question every time. And that was the question I always asked was, hey, how are we really there for them? Let's ask that question. And I found 2 groups. One, I found the Black Pack with Danny Triplett, and the Consolidated Veterans Group with Antoine Boham. And Antoine's actually our COO now, full time. 21-year naval submariner, retired. When you're on a submarine, every decision matters. Right. And that's a really cool place to have an operator. And he was also specialized in logistics. Well, I figure if you can do logistics for the Navy, you can sure handle doing logistics for building us. And so for us, it was finding that organization. That's my first proudest moment, because then ironically, as fate would have it, and forgive me, I'm not a political person, but I understand, there's people run the White House. I'm not it.
Right.
But we were invited to Mar-a-Lago in last December. And our now sitting president is aware of what we're doing, and he's watching, and we're starting a pilot program in Memphis, Tennessee. And if we do this right, I think there's an incredible opportunity that we can take this national. And I mean by national is what I said before. One, we have at least a location in every single 48 United States. And now, whenever we have a national emergency of any kind, the Knights of the Fortress show up. We're one of the first ones to show up, to put up emergency service buildings, to put up shelters immediately to house people that may have been damaged by floods or fire or famine or whatever we're dealing with in this country. But for people to sit there and be homeless because of an emergency, I think is an unacceptable response. So when we can roll in and we can be that first responders, and no different than, in the military, we do what's called a forward operating base. We actually establish the ground. We make sure that we have security, get the secure perimeter, and get people safe. And that's the first thing. So that's then being able to invent that line. Although I don't know that anybody will ever know it, bar the people behind the scenes, but being able to invent that line and being able to have the mobility of it and how they roll in and what be a part of the design. I can't tell you that you can see it right now, but in a short order of this year, you will. That'll be my proudest moment, because when you see that rolling in, I mean, that's literally like the cavalry showing up. And if you've ever had that feeling, you've ever been in a situation where you need help, first responder, military, just your bloody neighbor, anybody, and they show up, that's the feeling I know that every time the Knights show up, hey, we're changing lives, we're helping people. And for me, that's a legacy worth leaving.
That is absolutely fantastic. And I want to thank you for sharing that with us. So with that in play and what you've going on at higher levels, even in government, where do you see your business in the next, say, for example, 2 years?
Fair question. I see us north of $250 million, not just in revenue, but definitely in valuation, but also because of our IP and where we're going. I also see that everybody is going to be able to own a piece of this and go through this process, because again, what makes us so unique is it doesn't require years of training for you to learn how to be a SIP builder. I mean, it's ice cream sandwiches and paint by numbers, if we're going to be candidly blunt. You can't screw it up. But moreover, I see it public. And I would tell you, I don't know that I'm the guy to run it publicly. I am not an expert at running public companies. I know there people are, but I know that this team can navigate it. And most importantly, I think God, at the risk of sounding altruistic, but why not? I mean, I'm at my age. I'm like, you can either you become jaded or you can become hopeful. I chose to become hopeful. That's just my journey. I want to see the cavalry rolling in every state. I want to see people excited about when we're out there doing it again and we're building America back. And I know that sounds political. It's not. I'm a huge fan of America, and I have the life that I've had because of it. However, we the old girl needs some lipstick, and she needs a haircut, and she needs a makeover, and it takes every damn one of us to do it. And to me, at the risk of sounding like a cult leader, it's a little bit of a movement. I'm like, hey kids, every major metropolitan city that I've visited in the last 3 years, all are falling apart in the center. They all are. And all of us want it to be better, but it does, puns intended, takes an army to the rest of our military branches to do it. And this opportunity is in front of us now. So everybody gets to own a piece of it. Everybody gets to benefit from it. We keep our prices attainable and affordable, but still get quality houses. But even more so, everybody's in on it. Because if you go watch the videos, you see when you build it, you come with us, then this goes back to a harkened time. And I go back to this thing, and I'll stop there, is we used to build each other's houses back in the day. I'd help build yours. You'd help build mine. We'd raise barns together. We'd put business. This is that same thing, only at speed. So instead of saying, hey, I'm going to take a whole day and I might, get a couple frames up. No, you're going to build 2 or 3 houses in a day. And people are going, holy crap. And there's a sense of accomplishment, a sense of pride. And moreover, there's a sense of community rebuilding. And post-COVID, boy, we need that more than ever, because man, we have been isolated way too long, and we're all social creatures. And while we may be coming out of it per se, we still have a lot of that lingering, not quite connected anymore. But imagine if I came over, Irv, I'm going to help you build your house. Even if I only build one wall, every time I see you, we're going to have something to talk about. Man, I remember that day we built that house together. That's how we build communities. And that's how we built America. And unfortunately, we see that in the times of emergencies when Americans come together. My response is, how about we do it before we have the emergency? That way, when we come to the emergency, everybody already knows each other, and we're going to respond 2 times as quickly as we normally do.
So what message, Travis, can you give our listeners in regards to starting a business, seeing their dream come to fruition, and taking their dreams to a level beyond even their own scope?
Yeah, great question. The first one is, and I'm going to quote the great Alan Watts. I'm a philosopher myself. Death is imminent. Life's a choice. Death is non-negotiable. It's the only thing on the whole known universe that has 1,000% batting average. Even God doesn't stop death. Death is coming, and we're all marching straight towards it faster than scat.
Right.
So understand the concept that if you don't go for your dreams, the only person who gets screwed is you. Why not? So what if you fail? So what if you go bankrupt? So if you lose everything? Who gives a crap? Because at the end of the day, you ain't taking it with you anyway. So get off that ideology. And I'm not saying just go throw caution to the wind. What I am saying is throw your heart over your head. Go follow your guts. Look, I didn't grow up to be in the manufacturing business. It was never even in my, if you'd asked me 20 years ago, hey, Travis, you're going to be in the, hell no, Irv, you lost your damn mind. What's wrong with you, sir?
Right.
But I'm here because my heart got in something bigger and bigger than yourself. And whatever that is for you, find it and hold on to it with both hands and enjoy the hell out of a ride. Because remember, the word entrepreneur doesn't mean exit. It means one who falls in love with the process of building a business. Yeah. Build it. And I don't mean to, I'm not going to say build it and they'll come because it doesn't quite apply. Although in this case, it kind of does. But more importantly, chase your dreams. Because guess what? I'm a product of that. I'm a 33-year entrepreneur. And I've always done it, not because it was the cool thing to do, is because it's the thing that my heart said to do. My heart said, go chase it. Because what's the worst thing that can happen? You don't do it. But at least you got the advantage of taking that experience and you go on to the next thing, whatever that is. Remember, every chapter builds upon itself. That's how you build a book. You don't build a book with one chapter. You build a book with multiple chapters. And each chapter segues from one to the other. And your life is a series of chapters. So architect the life that you want. Go for it. And remember one thing. In the end, the only thing that's going to matter is the people that went with you. That's it. That's who's going to show up at your funeral. That's who's going to be with you. Architect the life that you want. And remember,
that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep, Travis. And I love it. And those are great words to live by. And for those that are listening and watching, listen to this man. I think he embodies passion, desire, internal, the strength to carry that dream through and assemble everybody he needs to assemble to make this dream a reality and take it beyond, like I mentioned earlier, even farther than maybe you might have imagined at the onset. So, Travis, it's been really fantastic learning about Build Your Fortress. I can't even get the words out because you got me all hopped up, man. It's so really, really cool, man. We got to go.
Let's go, man.
Yeah,
let's do it.
But for those that want to follow you, how would they find you?
Easy. Go to buildyourfortress.com. We're on every major platform. And yes, I answer my own email to this day. I'm a man of the people. I belong to the people and I always will. And I serve them. I believe that the legacy that I'm on for the next, God willing, the next 40 years of my life, if the great architect lets me stay on the planet, is being able to look at people and go, we did that together. I didn't build it for you. I built it with you. That's the whole key to high performance panels. We can build it together. It doesn't matter whether you're in the construction industry or not. Fact is, everyone should have their own home. I'm glad to build it with you. Go to buildyourfortress.com and let's start building today.
My man, Travis. I got the right to call you my man, Travis, because we had an amazing exchange here and even prior to getting online. So thank you so much once again for sharing your stories. And to our listeners, if you've enjoyed this inspiring story, be sure to subscribe and tune in for more exciting and inspiring business spotlights. Until next time, I'm your host, Irv Cruz, and we'll see you again on the Credit Bank Small Business Spotlight. Travis, thank you once again. All the best to you, buddy.
Thank you, man. You're fantastic, man. If I ever become a podcast host, I'm gonna have you as my my sidekick and go just talk to Irv because he's got the ins and outs. You got your smooth, so smooth.
Awesome.
Really pleasure. Thanks for letting me have the platform, and thank you to Jorge for letting me go long.
If you enjoyed this video, click here to watch another exciting episode.